Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Spoonful podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mario Piacquadio, joined as always by Mr. Emmett Watkins Jr. How the hell you doing, dude?
I'm doing pretty gravy. I will say right now, I'm gonna put my entire weight behind this. Scorn for best art direction for the Game Awards. That's
Ooh.
all I want. If I
I,
can make that happen, everything else is worth it.
I feel like best art direction is definitely like who did the weirdest art style, the most unique art style. You get the dub.
Exactly. Exactly. Everyone else said, "Oh, here's a AAA game." Scorn said, "No,
Yeah.
here's some fucked up shit that'll give you
Here's
nightmares."
some phallus stuff and gross and we pull guts out and shit. Still haven't played it. I'm interested in
Yeah.
it.
To be honest, I've played 20 minutes of it, but I want to get back to it because I keep thinking about that art style. It's really, really
There you
intoxicating.
go, best art style. If you didn't know, this is the Spoonful Podcast. It is a show where Evan and I talk just about anything, and we spoon feed you a topic we desire to spoon feed you. It goes live every other Tuesday on YouTube.com at Spoonful Vids.
Yeah.
We finally have our YouTube handle. Thank you everybody for the support. You guys didn't really do it, but we still appreciate the support. We finally have the new feature to Twitter handle. I believe the actual website is youtube.com/at spoonfulvids. That's where you find us. And we're on Twitter at spoonfulvids as well. Today, we're talking about a few different things. A couple like quick fire topics, right? One, you're going to give your thoughts, then I'm going to give my thoughts on something. And then your background there is hinting at what the main topic is. Let's kick things off. Emmett, you watched Black Panther: Wakanda Forever not too long ago. I
Yeah.
haven't watched it yet, but you have some thoughts you want to put out there, and I'm gonna let you do that.
All right, I feel weird about this movie because people know me. I like the first Black Panther a lot. It's not my favorite MCU movie, but it is up there because it is one of those movies where it is still your action, it's your Disney film, but it had some underlying themes about like the Black experience and different versions of the Black experience because it wasn't a monolithic story. It was trying to pull from a bunch of different like perspectives and things like that. I really love the movie for that. This movie, I don't wanna say I was excited for it, but I was anticipating it heavily.
Mm.
I just wanted to see what they would do. I know there was some talk of issues with the script happening and, the fact that, Chadwick's unfortunate passing happened right smack dab in the middle of them getting started for this movie. I'm sure that caught them flat-footed, that's just unfortunate from any means, let alone a production means. So I want to see how it would come out, and ultimately, it has come out, and I said this right after I saw the movie, it is unfair for me to have the criticisms I have of it, because if everything was the same and the entire cast was able to come back, and I mean the entire cast, I feel like this movie would have been stronger. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I am going to talk around everything, but the movie felt a little too somber. Not that it was because, like, the whole idea of this movie is, hey, Black Panther's gone. So, like, that's the core conceit. It was gonna be that from the get-go. But it stays in that pocket a little too long for me to the point where I was at a certain point, I was like, is there any joy in this movie? Like, is anyone gonna
Like, damn,
like
this is a fucking bummer. I get it.
yeah, it for a long time, I'm like, "God, this is a bummer." And yes, there is some, like, we already know Ironheart's gonna be in this movie, and, she's great. She adds a lot of comic relief, actually. I love her character. Can't wait to see her in the rest of the MCU. But besides her, so much of the movie is just very somber, very serious, and it felt like a DCU movie at
Mm.
times, just how, like, serious and not dark, but just very somber it was. But eventually, they do kind of bring it back, and there is hope, but even that hope is corrupted until the very end of the movie, where it's no longer corrupted. Um, so yeah, those are my main issues with it. There's a lot of very small things, but ultimately I do like the movie. I like the cast. I like the twist that they put on a lot of characters, and I like how they portray the bad guy. I like Namor and how he's portrayed and how his whole society is portrayed. I think all that stuff's really awesome. But ultimately, there's just a lot of like for every good thing I like, there's another thing that just like picks at me that I just don't love. So
Mm.
yeah, it's not on the level of the original Black Panther for me,
Okay.
but I A lot of people love it. It is still a solid movie, especially for a lot of representation stuff. And also, it kind of feels like a promise that, hey, especially considering there's another like the mid-credit scene in this movie. I'm not gonna say what it is, but it does feel like a promise that, hey, the next movie is gonna be more satisfying, more cohesive than this one is. So, we'll see on that one.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
I was gonna ask you. You got to it. I was gonna ask you about Namor or Namor or whatever it is, because
Mhm.
from the first Black Panther, a lot of people's favorite thing was Killmonger, right? And how it's one of the best villains in the MCU, one of the most relatable villains in the MCU, and I've seen a lot of people give praise to Namor for sort of continuing that trend of Ryan Coogler movies having banger villains. But yeah, you pretty much covered that. Shout out to the Latino representation in that Namor brings. That's cool. That's
Yeah.
dope.
I I will also say Namor, well, in the first movie, it felt like, yes, well, in both movies, really, Killmonger is the antagonist, and so is Namor in this film. But the US government is still the villain in both of these movies,
Yeah.
which I think is really cool. Like in the first movie, it was more like if you think about it, it made sense. In this movie, it's a little bit more explicit. Like the US government is actively antagonizing, you know, Wakanda low key. And I'm not gonna say why or how, but you watch the movie find out. But it's cool that they have that angle, and it's cool that they even go that way, considering, this is Disney, and this is also, same company who, signed a little military contracts to make sure the US government looks good in comparison so they can use the tanks and shit for free. So, it's just cool to see that stuff. I really like that. So thank God for
Good on them. Good on them. You're telling me the US government antagonizes black people? What?
that. Welcome. Let me tell you something about the
What?
CIA. Let me tell
What
you
a
about a
sh-
banana company named Chiquita.
what what a shocker. Oh my goodness. Um
Yeah, man.
what I want to quickly talk about is something that has consumed my life, and I knew I was expecting it to consume my life. I've been looking forward to this for years, and it's here, and it's better than I ever could have fucking imagined. Um, and that, of course, is God of War Ragnarok. My Leviathan axe is pulsating with excitement here. Um, the game is fucking incredible, dude. I'm 23 hours in, and it continues to defy and like subvert my expectations constantly. I know I want to hear your thoughts. I know you've played about the first hour. The first hour has some really fucking good stuff in it, by the way. It opens
Yeah.
very strongly. But the way that the game continues to build upon itself, not only on the storytelling and the characters, but putting you in situations that you just would not think you're going to be put in, and I'm not spoiling. I'm going as light as
General.
possible, but
Mhm.
already, and I know I have a lot of the game left because it's a long game. It's much longer than the first one. Already, there have been so many moments where I'm playing where I out loud say, "I can't believe I'm doing this right now," and I know that that's only going to continue based on what I've heard. This game's incredible, dude. The gameplay is
Mm.
fucking like excellent, just like 2018. The improvements that they did, while they're not revolutionary, they do help add a lot to the combat and to the gameplay of it. And one very interesting thing that happened to me on this combat is when I played 2018, right? I remember people saying that it was clearly very inspired by Dark Souls and From Software sort of combat.
Yep.
I hadn't played any From Software games back then, but I knew that what some of the things that people meant was, for example, the melee attacks were with the R1 and R2 instead of the face buttons, right? That was like a big thing that people were saying that is straight up from Dark Souls.
Pause
And
real quick. Is it a concern that your cat's behind the TV? Because I see it wobbling or something.
they'll be all right.
Okay.
They
All right.
mess everything up. They'll be okay. Should be fine.
All right. Hopefully not the TV, but
Five
want to
cats in a
say that.
room. There's a point where you just have to let it go.
It's just I saw that flash of like, what if it falls?
No, no, I appreciate it. No,
Uh,
this TV's safe in there. They'll be all right. They'll be okay.
all
But
good.
now that I've actually played From Software games and I love From Software games, I can see what people meant by comparing the two, and I think this again it takes it a little extra step further in the way that a lot of the core things that you're doing in the combat are very similar, but they found a really beautiful way to mix From Software combat with God of War style combat, where it's
Mhm.
still a lot more action focused. There's a lot more cool visual cues happening as you're doing it. It feels a lot more like an action movie and a lot more visceral than a From Software game would. And it's just a really good marriage of the two. I really understand what people were saying now, but I can't say enough good things about this game. It's it's probably already my game of the year, and I don't mean to spoil our game of the year episode, but I don't see something going above this, and
Mm.
I played about 50 hours of Elden Ring, and I had to stop for a little bit because I think for me I got a little tired of the of
Overstuffed.
yeah, a little overwhelmed, and I also played a lot of From Software games this year, so I think I got to a point where I've played close to 200 hours worth of From Software games just this year. And so I needed a little break. I originally wanted to beat it before God of War Ragnarok, but now I'm doing the complete opposite thing. I'm focusing on God of War and I'll come back to Elden Ring later. Well, I think Elden Ring's a fantastic game. What this game's doing already, holy shit, man. The story's incredible, the presentation's incredible, the characters, the writing, the combat. It's a fucking
Mm.
masterpiece. I'm already starting to think about it doing another God of War tattoo, just how I did my Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 tattoos.
Ah.
This game is incredible, dude. It so far it legitimately feels like it's going to end up being one of, if not my favorite game ever.
This when I hear talk like that, it scares me because like it just makes me more intimidated to try this game. Now I will say, like we said earlier, I played the first hour and I see more or less what people are talking about. Even in the first hour, there's some surprises. I'm not gonna say who it is, but there is a character that I really wish we got to hear from in the first game, and now it's like, oh, finally I get to see a little bit of their perspective finally. So I'm excited about that. There's a fourth wall breaky moment that happens in that first hour that I lost my mind at. I think you know the part. Yep. I was blown away by that, and it made me so excited to see what the hell the rest like if they're pulling this trick this early, what the fuck else is there? Like that has me so excited. And I've heard teases of like some other characters from the past maybe returning. I don't know what that means because they were like, "Oh yeah, you thought the you thought this thing is the only thing they were bringing back from the old games," and I'm like, "What the fuck do you mean?" So now I'm very excited to find that out because I'm a original God of War truther. I like the first three games a lot.
Adore them. They're the
I
reason
still
that I got into PlayStation is the original God of War trilogy. So my roots to the franchise, just like you, they run deep.
exactly. Yeah, I'm a sicko. I played every single God of War game, even like Ascension and the PSP ones.
Oh
Like
yeah, oh
I'm
yeah,
all about it. So, and God of War 3 is still probably my favorite God of War. I like it more
awesome
than
fucking game.
2018.
It's a great
Yeah,
fucking game.
so I want to see if this game's gonna be better. I'm sure it's gonna be better than 2018. I just want to see if it's gonna be better than God of War 3 to me. Because my problem with 2018 was that I pretty much overstuffed myself on it, just like you did with Elden Ring, where I said, "Oh, I played the story. That was awesome. Played all the side quests. That was awesome. Let's go for the platinum." And then by like the 14th Raven, I was like, "I'm gonna kill myself." I
See,
was like so sick of it.
I hear what you're saying. I loved platinuming 2018. This game, the way they kind of structure the main quest and the side quest, the game's very forthcoming about telling you like, oh, right now might be a really good time to clear out some side quests while we're at it, and it feels very natural. I feel really bad for this. Is one of those moments in my life where I'm like, man, I'm kind of glad that I'm not a game reviewer because
Yeah, I
every
feel that
review that
feeling.
I heard is like, I had to ignore all the side quests to get it done, and I'm like, you missed out on so much because the side quests are great, and the way that they're
Mhm.
interweaved with the main story is incredible. Is really well done, really well executed. And again, the game tells you. The game literally at points you'll have a character be like, oh, we should maybe do this thing before we do the next bit of story, right? And it's just really well done and it's addicting. And for at least for me right now, clearing out all those side things like the ravens and the whatever chest and the legendary chest and the Nornir chest, it feels more natural, and I feel like I've had to backtrack a lot less. It's just felt
Mm,
more like part of the journey, and the way that maps are segmented, it's sort of easy to be like, oh, I'm missing a raven in this little section. Let me just walk around, find the raven before I move on to the next section. And then
huh,
I'm done with this one. That's the way that I've been playing the game so far. And it's been a really, really good time. In fact, this morning, I was playing some more and I unlocked, you know how the original God of War also had that little bit of Metroidvania element where like
yeah,
there's this
you get a new
wall
ability.
and then you get this new ability and suddenly you backtrack and you get all the I just unlocked one of the last things that I kept seeing throughout the world that
Mm,
and the game also, shout out to the game, when you encounter something that you can't do, one of the characters will just tell you, "Hey, I don't think you have the right tools for this yet." And you can just move on and it's awesome. But
okay.
I just got the thing that helps me clear out a bunch of stuff. So now is when I'm going to do a lot of the backtracking, cuz the way that I've always liked to play games, and I did that with Horizon, I do it with any open game that has side quests that are appealing to me. I like to clear all that shit out and then move on to the story cuz it makes me feel like when I finish the story then I'm done, you know what I mean?
I feel that.
But I can't say enough good things. Like it's all I think about when I'm not playing this game. All I'm doing is thinking about playing the game. I've sat I tweeted about this. I every now and then a game comes out that makes me feel like I'm a teenager again, right? Where like I sit down and I'll play 5 hours straight, not even fucking blink, not even stand up to pee or drink water, like crazy
Yep.
level stuff. That happens every now and then. It doesn't happen with every game. Funny enough, it is often with PlayStation Studios games. So it's
Mhm.
very, very often PlayStation Studios games are the games that make me feel this way. And this game has completely taken over my life to the point where I was playing um Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope on my Switch before God of War came out, and I'm really digging that game. I'm a huge fan of the first one. I've had moments of free time where I'm away from my PlayStation and I have my Switch on me, and I don't even want to play that shit. Because I'm like,
Yep.
the only fucking game I want to play right now is God of War. I don't even want to fucking kill time with other games. It's great.
I feel that. Yeah. Luckily, I haven't played long enough for that fever to hit me, but it's gonna happen. I'm gonna play through this game. I'm trying to do the thing of because if I really get into it, I won't play anything else until it's done, which might take me a month. So I'm halfway through Bayonetta 3. I want to play the rest of Bayonetta 3, even though my motivation for playing more Bayonetta 3 is kind of waning because some of the gameplay stuff is a little weird and a lot of the story stuff is very weird. So I'm like, this is starting to be not quite what I wanted, but I want to play more of it. I don't know why I said that like Power Rangers. Um, but
That
yeah,
was the Power Rangers theme.
yeah, I was wondering like where that jingle came from. But yeah, I'm gonna play through Bayonetta 3, want to get through that, and then after that, I think it's gonna be time for me to sit down with God of War. Hopefully, my plan is to I said this on Twitter as well. There's like a 2 or 3 dozen games that I wanna try and get through by the end of the year, just so I can have something I've played for game of the year because 'cause I've only played 5 games from this year so far. But yeah, after Bayonetta 3, God of War is next, and then hopefully I can check off some of these indies. I'm like partway through Ghost Song too, so I wanna play some more
Mm.
of that, but yeah, I will play God of War. I will like God of War. Will I love it as much as the other ones? That's what I'm excited to see, and I guess I'll find it out soon enough.
From what I've played so far, the scope of things is closer to a God of War 3 than a God of War
Mm,
2018. Um,
love it. Love to hear that.
yeah, it still feels personal like 2018 did, right? And the close personal story, but the scope is God
Yeah,
of War.
because I
It's a God of War game.
yeah, one of my biggest criticisms of 2018 was, like, there's not even any epic boss battles. There's, like, one with the
Oh, there's
dragon, and
boss
that's it.
battles. There's boss battles.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see because I have no context for anything. I've even the trailers have been very either cryptic or just
Yeah.
nondescript. So I'm
No,
like super excited.
it's so well done, and the I'll end it with this. Um, what who Kratos is now is incredible. He's such a fucking good character. Like they've evolved what they did in 2018 of showing Kratos growing as a person to who he is now. I love him to death, and like
Mm,
it's so well done what they did with him. It's fantastic. I
nice.
the moment we're done recording this, I'm playing more God of War.
I'm glad to hear he's done shoving women's in the gears to open a door. I'm glad he's done with that.
You would be surprised at how many callbacks to little things like that they are through the game.
Ooh,
Like
that's like ooh, that's the type of shit I love when
like
they
small little
puppet in their own shit.
callbacks where Kratos is reflecting on this one little thing that happened all the way back in fucking I'm not saying more, but like there's a lot of fucking
Kings of Olympus.
callbacks.
Oh, man, I'm ready for this. It's I know I'm gonna love it. It's just one of those things where I'm so nervous to be consumed by anything.
They
So,
literally
yeah.
there's remember how Mimir like always tells stories in the boat and all that and the characters chat
Mhm.
with each other. There's a lot of that here. A lot of it and it's really really good. Literally one of those is Kratos telling the Ghost of Sparta story, like from the game Ghost of Sparta.
Oh my god, that's gonna be incredible. I'm so glad they didn't drop all that lore for us. I'm so glad they kept that for
Yeah,
us.
no, they really keep it. They really, 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 really keep it. I'm excited to hear your
Mm,
thoughts. I'm sure we'll hear more here on Spoonful.
definitely.
Enough talk about things that make you happy, Emmett. We're gonna get just like Black Panther Wakanda Forever, we're gonna get real morbid up in here. Okay?
Oh, another death,
Kind of. Kind of. It seems like
potentially.
we're heading there. It
Life
seems like
support.
yeah, definitely on a coma at the ER. Um in case you didn't know, people out there, this gentleman named Elon Musk bought Twitter, and he's speed running, like ruining a website. It's been 2 weeks, and I tweeted about it today. Every day I feel worse about being on the app, and every day I feel
Mm,
a step closer about leaving the app. And the problem that I personally face is that Twitter is the only social media I use. Other than YouTube,
yep.
if you count YouTube. I don't use Instagram. I don't use Facebook. I don't use Snapchat.
We're in a rock and a hard place right now because I'm low key in the same place where I use I'm on some of those apps, but I don't use them.
Yeah, I don't
Like
even have them
TikTok
on
is the
my
only other
phone.
app I open regularly.
See, I might just have to bite the bullet and download TikTok. I was never a TikTok person, but man,
See, I
it's
yeah.
insane how fucking morbid it feels to be on Twitter.com nowadays.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things where because Twitter's always been a little bit messy. It's always
Of
been
course.
if something big is having its downfall moment, it's fun to watch it burn on Twitter. That's kind of the fun of being on this site sometimes. But it's weird that we're still having that same frolic around the fire atmosphere when it's the own site dying. And part of that is because, Elon Musk, I was gonna say an eccentric billionaire, mildly eccentric billionaire. He's not
He's a
that wild. He's
fucking asshole, egotistical asshole. Like,
exactly, and plus he's not like some philanthropist or something. He's just a guy who does stupid shit.
yeah,
So like, here we are. But yeah, I think it's a lot of we don't like Elon Musk because he has a lot of money and doesn't do anything positive to the world with it. Um, and also just has this thing where a lot of millionaires, billionaires, all those people, a lot of them don't really care if they're liked by the public.
right.
Especially if you have that much money, you probably didn't treat the public well in order to get that wealth in the first
That's
place.
not how you got it.
So
You didn't get it by being
exactly.
nice.
Exactly. So most people are just, don't care what the public thinks. Elon really, really cares what the public thinks to the point where
To a
him buying
detriment.
Twitter, yeah, to a detriment for just his personal self, but also like him buying Twitter is pretty much just an egotistical, oh, everyone talks shit about me on this site. Well, let me change the site so that now I have power over them specifically. So it's really annoying and it's just, doing a lot of reckless things because he overpaid for it by a lot. He had to borrow money from Saudi Arabia to get this thing to go through, and so now he's like trying to repay that loan. So he's doing all this types of shit where he's like, ah, we got to sell a bunch more ads. Oh wait, everyone's fleeing because I let people have verification by paying it, and now Mario's flipping people off. Also, did you see that one tweet? I don't know if this is actually real. There was this one tweet where someone was like, the Nintendo Brazil Twitter account, someone impersonated that account, got the verification badge, and posted like pregnant Luigi.
Dude,
And it
dude, the threads of the verified account tweets.
oh,
I'll give him this some of the hardest I've ever laughed in my life.
dude, I
When
don't
I
know if this
saw
is real.
when I saw
Yeah,
Joe Biden say he's stroking his dick right now. That oh my god, dude.
that's like
So
what was that?
funny.
That's some old like video clip because I remember hearing. Oh, it was someone. It was like a phone prank where they were like, "Yo, I'm just stroking my shit right now. I got lotion on it," and I'm like, "What, Joseph?"
Sir,
It is
Mr.
crazy.
President. Oh my
It's
goodness.
But what's crazy is like, yeah, we're all having fun like impersonating people. Even like I saw some George Bush ones that were like wild as shit that I
Oh
thought was funny.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, but like they're impersonating companies, and companies are like losing stock.
Did you
Like
see the insulin company? First of all, great,
yeah,
fucking hilarious. I'm glad. That's one of the only good outcomes here is that the fucking piece of shit insulin company took a gigantic hit. But yeah, like
yep.
it's having real world effects, like
Mm-hmm. Because it's not
impactful
just
shit.
oh, they like I think it was Lily Pad and Co. or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Lily and Co. They, they someone made account impersonating them, and they said insulin's free now. So then everyone's like, oh, it's free. So the stock market on their shit crashed. Like they lost like 4 billion in a day.
Good.
Um, but the thing about that is, it's not just oh, we had a fake tweet and everyone believed it for a minute. That's temporary. Now the conversation is, wait, so insulin wasn't free, so how much does it cost? It costs that much? Where does it cost elsewhere? They look at all these other countries where insulin is like $8 instead of 200. And now the conversation is, why is insulin so much? What changed in insulin in the last 50 years for it to be
Right.
so much? And so, people, a lot of capitalism is able to survive because we are too busy trying to keep our head above water to question why the water's there in the first place.
I agree.
So, yeah, when people ask questions, this is how things change, and now I'm sure they're nervous that things are changing because the conversation shifted. And even like, what was it? Made a joke about it earlier. Chiquita, the banana company. Someone made an account impersonating them. And we're like, we're going to what they say. We're going to stage a coup in Brazil, and then the official account had to be like, we haven't staged a coup since 1952.
That's fucking incredible. Yeah, but that's the fun side of it, right? Like there is a bit of a
Mhm.
fun side of it, but like to talk about what a fucking awful idea it is to, something as simple as verification, which has been around the age of social media for a while, where the whole point is you're verified to confirm that you are who you are, right? And who people
Yeah,
think you are. Uh and suddenly that's gone, right? Because you can pay for it and you can impersonate people and you can put out awful shit. And we've seen accounts that are suddenly verified now fucking tweeting literal neo-Nazi shit, and they have a little check mark next to them.
yeah.
It's
Well,
fucking
literal
insane.
neo-Nazis. Yeah, there are Nazis out there that were
Eh,
verified, did some
check.
awful shit, got verified again because they could pay for it. Like, what's his name? Spencer? I forget his
Oh
name. The
yeah,
guy who
fuck
got
Richard
punched in that one
Spencer.
video.
Yeah,
Thank you.
best
Yes,
video ever.
that guy paid for verification just so he can be,
It's
back to what he was, and now that shouldn't be a thing people have. Like, here's the thing about Twitter that is uniquely a thing about Twitter compared to all these other sites. I feel like for most other social media sites, I'm thinking specifically of like a Facebook or an Instagram, those sites, if you are a brand, you are a separate type of account. If you're a brand account, then like think about a page on Facebook versus like a human on Facebook,
right, right.
like
It's its
different ways.
own thing. Yeah,
Exactly. Twitter is unique because everyone is kind of the same type of account. And sure, if you get verified, you get like a little tab for verification notifications and like you get a couple extra things there. But as far as everyone else is concerned, you pop up on the timeline seeing as everybody else, you interact with people the same as everybody else. It gives Twitter a feel of like a kind of playground where everyone's just talking to everybody and everyone's interacting and everyone's just crossing
Yeah,
paths,
the
no
whole
matter if
the
you're niche or
town
not.
square thing
Yeah, yeah.
that now has gotten turned into like, because Elon loves to use the fucking town square bit, but it's it's just the
Now the
the
town's owned by a square.
yeah, now the town square is only by the rich people, I guess, the people who want to pay for it. It's insane. And listen, Twitter is I don't think either of us are trying to say that Twitter was the perfect site and now it's ruined, right? It had its
Mhm.
flaws, but at least it felt like compared to other social medias, they gave a little bit of a shit and they tried, right? Like they had teams specifically for like they had a human rights team on Twitter, right? To
Yeah.
like help.
Moderation team.
They had a
Mhm.
moderation team. They had what's it called? Like a
Like
I'm
a,
forgetting the name.
accessibility
They had
team.
an accessibility team. They had a
Yeah.
team for they had a lot of different teams, right? Variety and they had a
Mhm.
diversity team. That's the word I was trying to fucking
That's
figure
the
out.
word. Okay, yeah.
They had a
So
diversity team. So it wasn't a perfect website. There was a lot of bad shit that got there, but they gave somewhat of a shit, right? They banned Trump, right? They banned
mhm.
Kanye. These all these extremist people were banned because they at least put their foot down on what on things that they didn't want, right? And now it's not just that they're turning back on that. It's not just that they fired more than half of the fucking company and entire
Yeah.
teams. I saw a tweet the other day that somebody tried to get in contact with Twitter, and they don't have a communications department anymore.
Yeah.
Not only
It's crazy.
are you a ton of people losing their jobs over basically nothing. Like I literally Elon Musk has fired people because they tweeted about him and they said
Oh,
that they
yeah,
didn't
I
like
saw
it
that
and
earlier.
he fires them and he feels like he's a winner for it. He's like, "You're fired." And a bunch of fucking dumb skull idiots in the replies are like, "Good job, Elon. Good job." It's not just that we're losing the few things that Twitter cared about, is that it's completely swinging the other way because neo
Mhm.
Nazis now have a gigantic platform, and it's gotten so sad, dude. I deleted my Facebook years ago because Mark
You gotta
Zuckerberg is a
delete mine for me.
I Mark Zuckerberg's a piece of shit, right? And I was like, I'm not supporting this dude. I'm not gonna be on this dude's fucking social media anymore. And I deleted Facebook and I stopped using Instagram for those reasons. And on Twitter, I could at least say, well, it's not perfect. And there's a lot of hate speech. There's a lot of problems with Twitter, but goddamn, compared to all other social medias, I feel much better being on Twitter. And that's fucking gone for me, man. Like, I feel awful
Yeah.
every time I open that fucking website now.
Yeah, it's rough. Be it's hard for Twitter because, like, I do agree there plenty of issues have been on Twitter. Like, yes, they have a content moderation team, but they were not always on the ball with
Agreed.
every type of person. Like, especially like in recent years, transphobia is the big thing
Awful.
where,
Yes.
like, of course, Trump made, all the racism, anti-Semitism, all that stuff. Trump kind of showed a light on that. So they were like, oh, we gotta care because it's like national news. So they gotta block all those people because everyone's thinking about it. But transphobia isn't necessarily mainstream in the same way. So they in there it from the outside looking in, it looks like, oh, they're like, oh, we can let that slide. It's not going to be as big of a problem. But those people are still suffering from all the hate speech that gets thrown at their what gets thrown to them on a daily basis, even today. And so, there's a lot of stuff like that that has been a problem, continues to be a problem, even worse now because there's no one here to moderate it. But at the end of the day, like I really I'm not gonna say I don't want Twitter to die because maybe the death of Twitter means that something else better comes along. Because people are hopping on Mastodon, which I'm too intimidated by to really get into.
Same.
I, yeah, I opened it up. It's Mastodon is basically Twitter, but you have to join a Discord server, and
Yeah.
it's like, what server? And so I type in like my 5 general interests, and there's nothing. It's like, here's a server for like art in the digital realm, and I'm like, is that video
You're
games?
like,
Like,
what the fuck does that mean?
Exactly, it's, like, too specific, and I'm like, nothing really feels right." So you got Mastodon popping off, people are going back to Tumblr, even though they still haven't reinstated nudity.
As
You
someone
know
who had and ran a Taylor Swift Tumblr for years, a very successful Taylor Swift Tumblr for years, followed by Taylor Swift, liked multiple times by Taylor Swift, just a humble brag from me. I'm like, well, I guess Tumblr's all. I guess I'm talking about Taylor Swift all day now. Maybe
Yeah. I mean, I popped back on Tumblr. I logged back into my account. My
nice,
profile picture is still from 2019, but
nice.
I definitely I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about going back to Tumblr because I do enjoy Tumblr. I do enjoy writing things, but it's just a different type of vibe. Like
It is.
Twitter is a perfect website for the type of person who has short, small thoughts that they want to share with the world in a way like a TikTok goes off, but it's you don't have to be on a camera. That's my thing.
I agree.
I don't have a visually interesting life.
I agree. That's why I don't use Instagram. I
Mhm.
used to use
Same.
Instagram to like browse through it. Never, ever, ever, ever posted to Instagram. And at some point, I realized that I honestly didn't enjoy browsing through Instagram all that much. I
Yep.
was just kind of like, meh. And that's why I deleted it off my phone. Right? I was like, eh. Twitter was what I enjoyed. Twitter's where I've met a ton of people and I've done friends. You and I probably wouldn't fucking do this if Twitter wasn't a
Yeah,
thing. Like you and I
exactly.
became close friends through Twitter, and
Mhm.
like all of the people are kind of funny that or when I was a fan, like not knowing them to the point now where I'm at, like that's all through Twitter. So many people in the kind of funny community that I've met, it's all through Twitter. So that's the sad part of thinking like, okay, if this keeps going the direction that I think it's going on, what the fuck is next? Again, for somebody who doesn't use other social medias, I'm lost. I'm like, am I just gonna be a person that's not on social media now? And that kind
Yeah.
of sucks to a degree, you know?
Yeah, it's very dire because even me, like I joked earlier about Meta deleted my Facebook account. Right now, for some reason, someone tried to log into my account. So when I saw I got a notification for it, hey, someone logged into your account. I was like, that wasn't me. Changed my passwords, tried to log back in, and it's like you broke community guidelines. So I'm not sure what that
What
was.
did they did? What did they
I don't
do?
know. They posted something horrible when they broke in for a minute or 2, but also, they tried to buy ads through Facebook
Oh,
on my
geez,
account, and I
nice.
got charged $60 from PayPal, so I went back and got that money back, but it's still like something's going on there, so I don't have Facebook or Instagram, which is probably the things I would have fallen back on because 'cause I've had those for so long, and not everyone on Twitter follows me there because who's on Facebook? But, so a lot of my friends, I was big into Facebook groups, like Kinda Funny
Me too.
Facebook group,
I used to,
Comedy
yeah.
Button Facebook group. Yeah, I was big into that like 2018, or not even 18, further back, maybe 13, 14.
That's
Um,
kind of funny. Facebook group is like where Blessing was born. Like
yeah,
he was
honestly,
the he
and
was the baby
mhm,
picture guy, and everybody
yep,
loved the baby picture. And now
yep,
now you know who
blessing.
Blessing is.
And I was a moderator over in a Kinda Funny Facebook group for a minute, but at a certain point, I was like, "This takes up all my time, and
Yeah,
I'm trying to
that's a
have life."
job. That is a job.
Yeah. I did not realize that once I took it on because that was right in the middle of a controversy. It was a whole thing. But yeah, I Twitter is the only place where I feel like I can go and just, like, put out a one-sentence thought without any punctuation and have it be spelled wrong, and it's
Don't
fine.
matter. It's all good.
Facebook has too much pressure because now all your aunties and uncles are looking at your shit and they're like, "Oh Lord, what's he saying today? I'm worried about him now."
That's how I feel about Instagram too, dude. Like on Instagram,
Mhm.
the few times that I would post a story or like, because who posts nowadays on Instagram, right? It's all stories. But
True.
every now and then, if I would post a story or repost somebody else's thing, it was like 7 comments from all my aunts and and I'm like, all right, well, I can't
Yeah.
I can't be the person I am on Twitter on Instagram. I just can't.
Yes. Oh my god, I could not make
I
any of the
can't do
Bayonetta
that.
comments. God, could you imagine if I posted that video of me trying on this Bayonetta suit on Facebook? Oh my
Yes.
god, because 'cause they're already concerned I haven't brought a girl home in 27 years. So, like, they would have so many questions. But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, on Instagram, like I said, I'm not visually interesting, so I don't wanna, like put my face in the camera every time I want to say something. TikTok is the same way, where TikTok is great to consume. I rarely post on there because I'm like, I don't want to mess with all the filters. It's too many steps in order to make a thing
Yeah.
when I could just type something on Twitter. And Tumblr is a thing where I love Tumblr, but I feel like I don't wanna just use that for a stupid random thought. I wanna use that for when I have a lot to say. I have plenty of Tumblr posts from the past where I'm like, "Oh, here's this," like, before I had a website to write at, shout out to VGU.TV, that's where I would put my, like, really long reviews, or, like, I used to do, like, movie reviews on Facebook where it was just a really long post, and I was like, "Let me put this on Tumblr where it's a more properly formatted
Yeah.
for long posts like that."
Totally.
Like, I have stuff like that, and all these social media sites help with a different part of me, but Twitter is
Yeah.
the one where I feel like by default, I wanna express myself through Twitter. It just felt like the perfect bite-sized way to just get a thought out,
It's
and
also
yeah.
it's also for me one of the things that is special about Twitter and that it's already getting ruined. Just without talking about the bigger picture, right, of like billionaires doing whatever the fuck they want to do, just like the straight up the user experience, right? Like when Studio Ghibli put out that tweet of like, "Oh, we're doing something with Star Wars." Now, the first thing I had to do was check if it's an actual real account, right? Like that shit
Mhm.
sucks cuz I don't trust anything I read there anymore immediately just by that one stupid fucking decision. Um and the other thing that I always loved about Twitter, right, is that it encapsulated different aspects of my life, and it was the best way to talk about topics with people, right? Where Reddit is really good. For example, I've been getting into Reddit. Reddit is really good when you want to really like have a deep dive, right, into like your sports team or Taylor Swift. Reddit is a big thing, or video games, or whatever it is. It's great for that kind of stuff. But Twitter is the place where, the people I follow, right? I'm obviously on video game Twitter. I'm on basketball Twitter. I'm on baseball Twitter, hockey Twitter, all of the Italian football Twitter. So it was
Yeah.
the perfect thing for like when I'm consuming a thing that I enjoy, if I want to discuss it or see what people are thinking, the place to go is Twitter because it's so fast, right? The
Mhm.
Knicks are playing, I'm on Knicks Twitter. Instantly I can refresh and I can see 10 different Knicks fans or in different writers and see what they think and talk to them and they reply back and it's again that sort of town square idea. And no social media does that as well as Twitter does it. Tumblr is really good at deep dives on it once again. I don't think Tumblr would work if my one Tumblr account is for my Taylor Swift stuff and sports and video games.
Yeah.
You have to have a separate page for each one of these things, right? I had a Taylor Swift Tumblr and I loved it. And Tumblr was strictly my Taylor Swifty app, right? Like anytime Taylor Swift would do something, I
Yeah,
would go there.
actually.
It's what it was for, right? But Twitter again has that benefit that there can be a baseball game going on, and there's a new Taylor Swift music video that dropped, and The Last of Us Part 2 is coming out in a week,
Mhm.
and all that's there. And it's been a part of my life for so long that I
Yeah.
just don't know what I would do without it. Just because it's been such a part of my life, and I don't have a lot of real life friends, as weird as that sounds, right? Like I have friends that I hang out with, but not friends that I can talk about God of War Ragnarok or about the Game Awards, right?
Mhm.
I don't have a friend that I can text and be like, "Oh my god, did you they just announced fucking I don't know that
Stray too, I don't know.
Stray 2 at the Game Awards." I don't have a friend that could do that. Twitter was that for me because I have a ton of friends that I could talk about that with. And it's getting dire, man. I don't know what I'll do. And the more that I see Elon Musk firing people because they said one thing, they disagreed with him on the thing, and it's just fucking sad. It's just shitty and sad, and it gets me angry, and I don't know what's gonna happen because yeah, you can migrate to Mastodon or to there's another one I forget the name that people are going to, but
Co-host. I'm actually on co
co-host.
Yeah.
You can go to co-host. You can go to, but is everybody that you fucking follow gonna go there? No, probably not.
Mhm.
As somebody who's into sports, The video game landscape and video game media landscape, one of the things that I appreciate about it the most is that they're very aware and of social issues and things of that ilk, right? Most people who are into video games, not the higher ups of the video game industry, but a lot of people who are into video games
The
are,
media side, yeah, that type of thing.
yeah, they're activists on things. They talk about topics, and I love that about the video game industry, right? It's one of my favorite things about it, that there's so many like-minded people there. Um the sports industry doesn't do that. I love sports. Uh
They're more
that
of a shut up and drivel industry.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh Basketball Twitter, NBA Twitter, and baseball Twitter, they're not going to move to fucking co-host. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're gonna
So
stick around.
if I move to co-host, then I'm fucked. Then suddenly I can't fucking talk about baseball with anybody, and it just fucking sucks.
Yeah, I'm right there with you because, like you said, I'm on a bunch of different Twitters as well. I'm on Black Twitter all the time. I'm on film Twitter a little bit here, games Twitter, of course, hip hop Twitter. I'm a part of. Like, I've I pop into all these communities all the time, and that's once again that's a big reason why I like Twitter.
That's the
Where
beauty of it. Yeah,
yeah, something like Reddit or even something like Discord, which I have a lot of appreciation for Discord, but I never really get into it because
I
I
agree.
think of Reddit Discord as the lunchroom where you have to pick a table where you can't just walk around. You have to pick a table, and then that's where you are. And you can get up and go to another table, but you'll only be in that group talking about things pertinent to that group. Where I used the playground analogy earlier for Twitter because everyone's just walking around, and you walk by a kid, and he's like, "Oh, can't wait to play Apex tonight." And it's like, "Oh, you play Apex?" And then there's a conversation right there, and then if more people just happen to scroll by and then they see you talking about it, they can add in their 2 cents. That's what I love about Twitter is that it's the widest possible connection. It throws the widest net to the most people, and you can have a conversation with so many people randomly. You can make connections instantly like that. And
Yeah,
yes, they might not be the deepest connection because or 280 characters, but you can make these connections very quickly. And I love that about the site. I'm really just hoping that there's one of these companies out here that is looking at the shit show going on Twitter. Like, honestly, I talk about Discord. I don't think they have I think they have the technology to be able to do it. I don't know if they got the manpower to run Discord and a Twitter clone, but I would absolutely sign up for like a Discord whatever, Discord bird
yeah.
or something like that. I would
Discord
sign up.
bird. I fucking hope they call it exactly that.
Yeah, because I trust their back end to be able to do something like that. I said I'm on co-host, but co-host feels so right now, like there's no mobile app for it, and even the website itself, it's not basic, but it just doesn't feel like it has a lot of features. Like I had to go find like you can upload your profile picture there. I had to go to a website to shrink down the file size because they wouldn't allow like a regular ass just image from my phone.
Yeah,
And I'm like, oh man, I had to go shrink it down somewhere. So that's the type of thing where code still feels like it's version 0.8 or something rather than 1.0.
totally.
So yeah, there's a lot of pretenders to the throne, but I hope someone captures that throne because it seems like Twitter's really going downhill. I do really feel like Elon is trying to do a bunch of shit and then call for bankruptcy and then get I don't know if you get all your money back. I don't know how bankruptcy works, but
I'm not rich
he's
enough to
really
understand how bankruptcy works.
exactly. I'm not rich enough to be able to lose enough money to be able to file for bankruptcy.
Yeah, exactly.
Um But yeah, I just feel like he's just doing all this shit to be reckless. I think he did that verification thing because you were talking about how he's giving voices to all these, horrible people on Twitter. I really do feel like it's not about how do I say this? He is trying to bring the level of discourse all the way down to one level. And if it's one level, it's no longer, oh, I'm an authority in this topic, so I can speak to this, or oh, I know what I'm talking about here, so I can speak to this. He doesn't want authority at all, which is really bad for a site, especially on Twitter where things can spread so quickly and misinformation is as short as 280 characters. And then you put a verification badge by that. So many people are going to take that as
Dude,
gospel.
it's so sad to think that not that long ago, Twitter implemented, I think, one of the best features they've done where when there was misinformation, they would do the little thingy below that would be like, this article's actually not true. And there's research proving that this and this and this is true instead.
Mhm.
That is a fantastic fucking feature that pretty much no fucking other social media did. And it's gone. Like, because one time that thing disproved something that Elon said, and I haven't fucking seen it since.
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue with it where Twitter knew what they were doing. They like we said, they had problems, but they knew what those problems were, and it seemed like they were actively working to fix most of them. They still had plenty of work to do
Oh
beyond
yeah,
that, but,
big
like,
big time.
the work was definitely being done, which was never in question.
And they,
Now
yeah, like again, the fact that they had teams dedicated to these things made me somewhat hopeful that, at some point with the direction that they were going in, they were going to be able to have it be where we would want it to be, right? I think it
Mhm.
was heading in that direction. I don't think it's untruth to say that, right? A million
Yeah.
things could have happened. It's capitalism at the end of the day. They're a business. They're trying to make money. I understand all that, but what's the fucking direction of Twitter now? I have, I don't know.
I question if this company will be around
Me too.
by the end of the year, but really by the end of next year. I think there's a chance by this time next year, we are all either on some different app or trying to find each other. That's another thing that we didn't talk about. Yes, I have a lot of you and me both have a lot of personal friends on this app. I met a lot of people through Facebook groups, like I said earlier, but everyone else, I've gained so many friends from Twitter. It's
100%.
invaluable the people I've come to know through this site. But also, like, the only reason I almost got that prom thing in Kinda Funny Prom was because of Twitter. It's because my
Yeah,
song popped up on there, and they looked at it on the, website and everything, or they looked at it on their shows and everything. Like, I have gotten so many, like, I've been in front of people that I don't deserve to be in front of because of Twitter, because of the virality of it, because of no one knows who the fuck I am. But if you see, oh, this is a cool tweet, who is this person? And then they end up literally like a week ago, we were talking about on Players Club podcast, we were talking about G4 and they were talking about Emily Rose. And I totally did not know that a different Emily Rose worked at G4. So I thought it was the voice actress for Elena from Uncharted. So I was like, "Oh,
nice.
she works at G4? What the fuck?" And then I looked her up and I was like, "Oh, no, this is a totally different person." So I followed her just because I was like, "Oh, I like the G4 people." He instantly followed me back. And I am like, I am a nobody,
You're like, wait a
but
minute.
yeah, I'm like, I'm not important, but it's things like that to where people don't necessarily need to know your entire life story to want to quote unquote subscribe to a subscription of your thoughts.
Totally.
So it's something that is revolutionary where Facebook being a friend on Facebook feels like such an official thing where it's like you have to ask to do it. It's a whole process, blah, blah, blah. Following someone on Twitter is an impulse thing that people don't think about it. And yeah, if you end up hating what they have to say, it's very easy to get out of there too with an unfollow. So I have gotten so many people, like I said, I've been in front of so many people that I don't deserve to be because of Twitter and just the way it works. And I am not going to be able to recreate that on any other
No.
site, let alone find the actual people I interact with personally.
Yeah,
Like that is
100%.
gonna be
Yeah, and
that's gonna be
listen,
rough.
I think you would agree with what I'm about to say, right? Like Twitter also became, granted a small, but a platform, right? Like my
Mhm.
biggest social media following is on Twitter. The if I put something out, right, when we put out a new episode of the Spoonful podcast, where does it go? First, Twitter. That's the first
There
thing
you
that I
go.
do cuz it's our biggest platform, right? It's where we know the most people, where I agree with you, people that I admire and that I look up to follow me and see what I tweet, right? And
Mhm.
that sort of connection to people, from, people that became friends to people that you admire that became followers, that's not going to get replicated. That's the reason why I am reluctant to just say, "All right, fuck Twitter. I'm leaving. I'm going to fucking shoebox.com. Follow me there." Like it's I just
Follow
don't
me on
know.
Tik.
I just don't know what's going to happen, man. Like
Yeah.
here's such a good story about Twitter and how special of a site it can be, right? There's this one guy, I hate Sean, shout out to him, on Nick's Twitter, right? He's a dude that I followed for a long time. We interacted a ton on Twitter about the Knicks, about the New York Knicks, right? Cool dude. Always chatted with him. I moved into a new apartment with Jimena a little bit like last year. Now we're not in that place, and I'm walking down the street up to my apartment, and I'm wearing a Knicks shirt. And this guy goes, "Oh shit, you're a Knicks fan." I'm like, "Oh yeah," and I talk to him, and I look at him, and I go, "Wait, are you at I hate Sean on Twitter?" He's like, "Yeah, do you follow me there?" And it was like a moment of like, "Bro, you replied to my tweet like 10 fucking minutes ago. We were neighbors.
Oh my
We
god,
were
that's
fucking
incredible.
neighbors across the
Wow.
door from one another."
That's
And he's the
fucking
homie,
small world.
man. He's such a cool dude. We were fucking neighbors, but we knew each other on Twitter.
What a small fucking world. Yeah, I just looked them up, so shout out to you. But yeah, like I've had interactions with that. Nothing that like cinematic and poetic, but it's I have definitely had interactions that like literally the first time I ever saw any of the kind of funny folks in person was at MomoCon. And I walked up to the mic to ask my little question at the panel. And Greg is like, "You look familiar. Do I know you from somewhere?" And he only knew me because like a couple nights before he did some giveaway like months earlier, and he's like, "If you want this Uncharted Golden Abyss code, give me your mail address and I'll send it to you." And I just tweeted out my actual home address at the time
Nice, good
because
one. Good.
all the replies were like, "Okay, here's my address." No one really thought about it, and so months later, I find that tweet and I'm like, "Wild that we just tweeted this out, huh?" And he's like,
I
"What?"
similar. I bought a bunch of Andrew Goldfarb's IGN desk toys because
Ah,
of
yeah,
Twitter. Because he was leaving IGN to go work at I think he
Sucker
went
Punch.
Sucker Punch. Yeah, when he left for Sucker Punch, um, he hadn't announced that he left for Sucker Punch, but he's like, "Hey, I'm clearing out my desk. Does anybody want any of this?" And some of the things were cool. I actually have them up there. And he's like, "All right, shoot me a DM," and gave him my address, sent him the money, bought the stuff, and that another moment in Twitter, right? And it's funny that you mentioned Greg recognizing you from Twitter, right? From you giving him your address, which is really funny. Um, my most viral tweet, right? My most viral moment ever, probably, was when I met Tim at E3 2016. Um, that video where suddenly the person who was recording said something about me being Mario Not Bros. I was introducing myself to him, right? And I was telling him, "Oh,
Mhm.
I'm a big fan," and he's Tim's a nice guy. If you've ever met him, he's cordial. He didn't know who I was yet. And we were just having a conversation. Somebody at some point mentioned Mario Not Bros. And he has that moment where he goes, "Wait, fucking hold on, you're Mario Not Bros?" And we had this really beautiful moment that I'll literally always appreciate and love for the fucking rest of my life. Where we had a hug and we had a connection because it was the realization of like, oh, we've talked and we've known each other for a
Yeah.
long ass time on this website. And this is the first time that we're seeing each other face to face, right? And
Mhm.
I don't think that's gonna happen on co-host. Like, no offense, co-host, but I think the one of the great things about Twitter is that it's been around for a really long time.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
just fucking it just sucks, man, that a billionaire's ruining something that was a fucking big part of my life and has been a big part of my life, and I would be in a different place in life if it wasn't for that damn website.
I'll say it like this. I signed up for Twitter specifically so I could pop up on the little ticker for tweets at the bottom of the G4 broadcasts whenever they do like X Play or something. That's why I signed up for Twitter.
That's great.
It, that was 2009. We are like 7 years away from it being 20 years I've been on here. So 13 years I've been on this fucking site. We've all built up a lot of memories on this site, a lot of, following, however you want it. Even if co-host ends up being great, even if Mastodon ends up being great, even if the thing that the Twitter founder who left is now making some type of Twitter alternative thing, if any of that works out, it might be another 13 years before I'm at this level again.
Exactly. It's not gonna translate from one day to the other unless for some reason somebody figures out a way to be like, if you join, you'll have the same followers and the same. But I don't think that's gonna
Yeah,
fucking
if
happen.
you let me connect accounts so I can find people like Facebook does on every other app,
That'd be
like,
great. That'd be great.
that that would be great, but right now, like, if I'm having to find all these people that I've come to be friends with all these years over the next 13 years, right now I'm 28. When I am fucking 41, I will not care about social media as much as I do at all. If everything goes right. If
Oh,
if my
fingers
life
crossed,
is where
man.
if my life is where I hope it is by 41, then I will have my hands full and will not be on the internet as much. But even then, like, I'm still gonna wanna interact with some people. Like, I just it's just a shame. And I wish Elon just you have enough money to not have to care what people think. You don't have to like do this thing to be like, oh, I'm popular. I'm the bastion of free speech. No one has to look up to you, dude. You have enough money to be
Yeah.
able to tell everyone to fuck off. So when we tell you to fuck off, how about you listen?
How about you just fuck off? I'll say the only good thing Elon related, right? And Elon will really feel it because a very selective crowd of people suddenly love him, right? And it's the same crowd of people that suddenly love Kanye a lot, and the
Yeah.
same crowd of people that love Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's that kind of people. Um,
Yeah. Love
Elon's their
crypto.
champion now. All the crypto bros, to them is a genius. The only good thing I'll say is that to everybody else, this has been such a public fucking debacle that at least general people, I would hope, are realizing that Elon's a fucking dumbass piece of shit.
Mhm. I think everyone knew that before I think everyone knew that when he said, "Oh, I'm gonna buy Twitter and
For
I'm gonna pay this
$44
enormous price,"
billion.
and then tried to back out and then went through with it because he didn't want the lawsuit to reveal other shady shit in his past. So
Yeah.
here
I
we
just,
are.
hey, if it ruins his reputation and people stop believing that he's a fucking genius or whatever the fuck people say, great. I'll
You know
tell
what?
you
He
this. I'm
Yeah,
and I'm sorry to interrupt. I've been
go ahead.
very into electric cars recently. I've never been a car person ever in my life, but I've been super into like the EV revolution, and I watch YouTube videos about it all day. I've learned a ton about it. First time that I'm ever interested in cars, but it's kind of its own different world to be into electric cars. I used to think I was gonna want a Tesla at some point because Tesla one of the only EV manufacturers that are making like relatively affordable EVs. I don't fucking get a Tesla. Fuck that guy.
That is absolutely fair. Yeah, it's one of those things where all the people who look up to Elon now, they have too much of their personal worth tied up in what he does as a person. So like you're not gonna n- Elon being an idiot isn't gonna deter them. It has to be
Yeah,
something they personally like all these Bitcoin people who go hard into it because Elon said 2 months ago. When they lose everything, maybe then they'll start being like, maybe this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Or a lot of them are losing everything right now. One of the biggest crypto sites just went under and they're taking people's money. So that's
hmm,
fun. But it's one of those things where like people in power, because like the American dream is more or less a myth because it is not something something you can easily replicate all the time. People need to look to examples to be like, "Oh, I could be like this guy. I could be like that guy." They're gonna look up to him as long as he is someone in power with money. If he gets disgraced by like that Maxwell photo that came out, that everyone loves to post under his tweets, like
very
if
funny.
if that bears fruit, then yeah, he's brought down. If Twitter falls through and then he's out a lot of money and he has to go back into hiding or whatever, then yeah, then he's taking an L. If he takes a massive L, sure, but him just being stupid isn't gonna be enough
No,
to
it's not changing
deter.
shit. You're right about that.
Yeah, and it's not because he's great, it's because people are delusional. And it's not that people are bad, it's that a system is taking advantage of them to the point where they don't understand what reality is. So,
Yeah,
here we are. We just gotta fix reality back, and how are we gonna do that? Well, Twitter would have helped.
it woulda, man. Twitter. Twitter for all its things, it's done some good. It's done a lot of bad,
Mhm.
but it's done some good. It's raised awareness on a lot of things, and it's done good. I know that it's helped me be a better person in a lot of ways, right? And have conversations that I wouldn't have had otherwise. Go ahead.
I will say Twitter has also helped me have this perspective of like, because everyone says, "Oh, celebrities are just people," and that's always been true, but it wasn't until I really got on Twitter and you have the ability to interact with people that are
Yeah,
way outside of your you shouldn't be even able to talk to them. I've had encounters like that enough times to where now I'm like, "All right, famous people aren't special. They are any different." Like, the fact that, who is it? One of my favorite rappers, Ritz, or someone I used to listen to back in like the late high school days. He lives in the Atlanta area. I've actually not interacted. I've ran into him at work like twice. And but before that, he followed me on Twitter and I'd be like, "Oh, this song is great," and blah 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 blah. And having that interaction really brought it down to earth and be like, "Oh, he's not any more like famous than anyone else, or he's not like a big deal to himself. He's just a
right.
guy."
He's just the guy
Um,
doing his thing.
Exactly. And having those interactions with, like, the Brian Altanos of the world where he follows me on Twitter and interacts
Same.
sometimes, and I'm like, "You shouldn't even do that." And, like, people from the Washington Post were like, some dude who works at, it's either the Washington Post or New York Times, they saw my Kanye West review from last year, for Donda,
That's so funny.
and he, like, liked the tweet where I shared it, and I'm like, "You're telling me people from, like, that
Can see
magazine
my
or
shit.
publication?"
It's the
It's
beauty of
crazy.
Twitter that anybody can see your shit. I don't know if have you ever gotten those things where like the bot accounts reply to you being like, "Oh, your tweet was featured in this article." Has that ever happened to you?
That's happened a handful of times. Like,
Yeah.
what was it? Yeah, the
I
Xbox when I did the Xbox design controllers, that happened, and
It's
one or
it's
2 other.
happened to me a couple times where I'm like, "What?" Like, I was, like, on Esquire, like, I don't even remember what it was. I'm like, "What the fuck?" Again, everybody sees your shit on Twitter, and it's out there, and people who you would never think see your shit is there. One time I
Mhm.
was featured, I'll never forget this. One time I was featured like, the top of the trending page, at Twitter because there was a moment where LeBron James was playing in New York, right, with the Knicks, or actually he
Mhm.
was playing somewhere else in LA or something like that. And it was Dwayne Wade and LeBron James like last game playing against each other because it was on Dwayne Wade's retirement season. And they had
Wow.
this moment where they
He doesn't
hugged.
play anymore?
No, yeah,
He
he
doesn't play
retired.
anymore?
He retired like 3 or 4 years ago.
Fuck. Alright, I shows
He
how much I know.
has
Jeez.
a weed company, and he's dope as hell. Shout
Yeah,
out to
I
Dwayne Wade.
I can imagine he's dope as hell.
Shout out to Dwayne Wade. No, but where they had this moment, right? Just to quickly explain it, where they hugged
Mhm.
and they said LeBron's told Dwayne Wade, he's like, "Oh, it was always gonna be here. It was always gonna be here or at the Garden," meaning Madison Square Garden. So LeBron was trying to say like our story was either gonna end with the Lakers or with the Knicks. And every fucking Knicks fan in the world was having a meltdown because this is like the third time that it's basically told that LeBron James wanted to be a Knick and could have and would have and should have been a New York Knick. And it would have
Mm.
completely altered the history of the franchise. And I'm going off a deep end because it really hurts. I reacted to it, right? Where I was like, what the fuck do you mean it was going to end at the Garden? What the fuck? I was like freaking the fuck out, like, right, having a meltdown. And that tweet made it to the top of the trending. And I was at work and suddenly I see my phone and it's blown the fuck up. And
Mhm.
it's because,
Yeah,
and it's not like I added at him and he replied. It just got picked up and I was top of the trending page, right? Like,
yeah.
those are the cool moments and cool memories that now I've found myself having to think of like, well, am I just gonna have to live a life where I'm not on social media? And that just really fucking sucks.
And on the other side of it, that might be better for all of us because
Maybe, maybe.
sometimes I think about it because, hey, literally the other night I was caught up because everyone's into reminisce mode for Twitter. I was like, someone said, "Oh, if you want to see like what are your most banger tweets, use this filter
Oh,
in the
right, right,
search
right, right,
term."
right.
And I copied it and I was looking through some of it and I was like, man, there were some fun moments on here. I was in there looking at reminiscing on old tweets for like an hour and a half in the parking lot at work because I hadn't left yet. And I was like, oh man, I need to leave. But like maybe not being on social media might give
Maybe.
us, because just for myself, because yes, there's not being on social media, doing other things in the real world may help my output in other places more. But I do think sometimes we are like, there is such a thing as Twitter brain, where you think in a way that Twitter has kind of encouraged, that people try to apply that to the real world. And it's like, all right, you're not gonna like the whole thing where they're like, oh man, I love waffles. Why do you hate pancakes,
Right.
huh?
Yes.
That whole thing. People think like that in the real world to a certain degree, and that isn't great. I do think, for as great as Twitter is, it's hard to have conversations with nuance on Twitter. So when you're talking about big, serious topics, it has to be a tweet thread, but a lot of people aren't gonna read a whole tweet thread, so they're gonna see the first tweet and get mad at you. So it's a whole thing. I do
Totally.
think that if we are not all on Twitter so much, then that type of thinking doesn't take us all so firmly by the throat, and we start thinking in that way. So that might be one benefit of it. But it's a pretty big benefit, but man, the costs of that benefit are gonna be massive. So we'll see what happens here. Hopefully, we're able to get something else out of this. 'Cause hopefully this thing just goes. If Twitter is gone, hopefully it comes back, maybe better than ever. I don't know. They might have to start from the beginning again,
Yeah.
because it just gets thrown into disarray that severely. But I'm hoping that Twitter can come back from this, or someone can make such a great alternative that we go back and it's pretty much a frictionless transfer. So we'll see. That's all
Hopefully.
I.
It's a weird, sad time if you're a Twitter user. I guess we'll see where it goes, man. There's just nothing else. Nothing else to say. I don't have a lot of faith. Uh, Fuck Elon Musk. And yeah, anything else you want to add?
Um yeah, fuck Elon Musk. And also, follow me on TikTok. I don't know, dude. Follow me on Turntable FM. Imma get into that
Do
again.
you know what's the
Remember Turn.
thing that's I do remember that. You know what's the thing that's hilarious?
Mhm.
Just now I'm like, okay, I'm getting into host mode. I'm like, okay, let me wrap up the show. And I'm like, I'm about to say the bit where I say follow us on Twitter. I'm like, fuck.
I mean, hey, that's what it is. Hey, you see, we're on YouTube here. We're on podcast services around the globe. If things happen, you'll hear on the show.
Yeah,
If shit
100%.
really explodes, you'll hear on the show. You'll hear from me somewhere. The good thing about me, I figured this out early. I claim the same hat tag on every single social media site that exists, just about. So
Yes.
if EJ Spun 61 doesn't work on Twitter, try it on Tumblr. Try it on Playfire. Actually, Playfire doesn't work anymore. Try it anywhere except Facebook and Instagram, because fuck me. But you know, try that anywhere. You'll find us. You'll get in contact with us. We might need to make a spoonful pictures or something, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, everybody, it's been the Spoonful show.
What a sad show.
Got real dire. Follow us on Twitter. I'm at Marina Bros. Him it's at EJ Sponge61. Spoonful is at Spoonful Vids. Oof, you know.
Yeah.
Sh-
It's one of those days, episodes,
One
times in life.
part of me also just feels like let's pay for the $8 and then ask for a refund, but
I did see that little trick, but I'm also at the point where there are benefits to signing up for Twitter Blue, but I don't want that
I don't want to give
freaking
him money. I don't want to give him money.
I don't want the scarlet letter of that crooked verification check.
I'm gonna go on the other billionaire's website to talk shit about this billionaire's website. That's what I'm gonna do.
Maybe I'll go to a millionaire's website. Maybe that's
Ooh,
better.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's eat the billionaires and hang out with the millionaires instead.
Yeah, well, we're eating them next. They're course 2, but yeah, sure.
See you on
Oh
the next
boy.
one, y'all.